Hello, everybody. Today is May 3rd, and we're back with the L1 show. Definitely not news. We're doing business and social stories that you can just share.
Collapse links for you to send to your friends. You might not be the most popular friend.
These are business collapse, though. It's not like ecological collapse, which is more distressing.
We have a lot of folks in our audience in this first company. Pour one out for the homies.
Yeah, it's hitting everybody, not just the big evil tech companies.
Red Hat begins cutting quote-unquote hundreds of jobs. Having worked in tech, you do have a significant nest egg saved up, right? Right?
Hopefully.
Right?
Yeah, those statistics about average savings.
Yeah, it's not great.
Not looking good.
Red Hat laying off 4% of their workforce. Some impacted people have already been notified by the time you're watching this, and it's not fabulous.
And here's one that, I can't believe it took this long. Right? We always talk about how do they have this many jobs? Yeah. How does Lyft have this many jobs compared to Red Hat?
How many drivers are subsidizing this many executives? It makes no sense.
But the drivers don't count here.
I know. No, that's what I'm saying. Is like, how many drivers would there have to be? Even at a 10-to-1 ratio, there's not that many Lyft drivers.
They should be on the phone with like 6 drivers a week, just personally taking care of them, checking on their kids, seeing how they're doing. I don't think that's happening.
Lyft's new CEO begins tenure with layoffs, reportedly cutting 1,200 jobs. If you drive Lyft, let us know if things improve or get worse, because one actual Lyft employee should be servicing on the order of like 1,000 to 10,000 Lyft drivers. Like, that ratio is way off.
And here's one that we haven't heard of since it came out. I remember Elon Musk did a live stream on this, and they were like, oh my God, this is the next thing. And then no one cared.
Nobody uses Clubhouse anymore.
So this is not surprising.
Audio app Clubhouse lays off half of its employees.
They didn't have a ton. I don't remember what the number was, but half's more exciting than the actual number because they didn't have a bunch. But why would they need a bunch?
They raised around $300 million at a $4 billion valuation, which tells me we're in the wrong business.
Oh, headcount never surpassed 100, so this is less than 50 people.
It's still substantial, though.
50 people worth $2 billion? Something ain't right there.
Well, a company that is worth more than $2 billion and has really, really not done well lately is Intel.
Intel reports its largest quarterly loss in company history, according to CNBC.
133% down from year over year.
They borrowed, what was it? They borrowed like $6 or $8 billion, and they're still down $2 billion.
Now, the good news here is that they had already given guidance for this. Yeah. Actually, they did a little bit better than they had given guidance for. So the stock price was not terribly impacted, but you can't argue this is good.
No.
I think that, I think this was necessary a long time ago. And I'm glad to see them doing this, because if they don't do this, if they had done this a long time ago, they would be in better shape now. But doing it now is better than doing it 6 months or a year from now, because by then it might have been too late.
You can say that about the entire economic downturn.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have been doing things differently the entire time instead of assuming it's going to be raining money.
Controlled descent as opposed to a crash.
Maybe those zero rates to save all of our crony buddies and corporations had an impact.
It is impressive that took, 10 years?
More than 10.
Almost 20.
We started that in like 2009, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem for future me. Screw that guy.
I mean, it is impressive that it worked that long.
And obviously, everybody's hurting. Nobody's buying a new phone. Nobody's buying a new PC because everybody bought them during the bad times. So that impacts everybody down to the bedrock layer.
Samsung faces weakest quarter since 2009 as memory chip market in the worst slump in decades. Also, PSA, you can get that Samsung 980 Pro 2 terabyte for around $100 US.
I'm seeing crazy prices on TVs right now. Have you been seeing that?
Yeah, 50-inch OLED, like $300.
Yeah,
not quite that crazy, but yeah.
I saw a 75-inch for $250. It was probably a garbage display.
Yeah.
I didn't even look into it. I was like, that can't be good. But still, that's crazy.
The only time that would be a reasonable price is when we get TVs that actually roll up. You just get it as a tube.
Like a poster.
Yeah. I mean,
that'd be convenient.
The technology's coming, and you just print it. But part of the reason that TVs are getting so cheap is those factories that literally do print the panels are finally coming online. So the cost of producing a panel has moved down another order of magnitude.
I'm sure right now it's supply, right?
Well,
who's buying them?
Those are online. Plus, you're trying to clear out your old inventory because it's going to be worthless when the new stuff gets here.
I think right now, probably who's killing it is warehouse space, right?
Yeah.
Got to store everything. And Amazon now, this is not a new layoff from Amazon. We already knew about this one, but it had been announced. Now it's happening.
Amazon starts layoffs in HR and cloud units. Read the memos announcing the cuts. Also their health unit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving up on. We got another one about that, right?
Yep.
They're giving. Oh yeah, the whole thing. They're just like, this is done. If you bought these products, sorry. I think if you bought them within, or maybe that was Google, one of these companies was giving you like a 12-month back. You could go back and be like, you sold me a product you knew you were going to abandon. Give me my money back.
Amazon shuts down Halo division and discontinues all devices. Remember when we thought Amazon was going to go for the
health store, and it's like, I'm sorry, you don't have a good enough health rating to buy Oreos.
Well, no, it was like the Mark Cuban Better RX.
Oh, yeah.
They did something like that.
They were going to do telehealth, I thought. They wanted to move into that space.
This was going to drive that strategy, and I guess they found consumers weren't willing to share that data with Amazon because of
every reason imaginable.
Well, I think right now, though, they just don't want to buy the extra stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Meta, this is another situation where they warned us. They warned us what was coming, so it wasn't that much of a shock. The crazy thing here is that he will not back down on Metaverse.
Yeah.
And most of these losses is that they are still pumping money into that just chasm.
Meta's Reality Labs records a 3.99 billion quarterly loss as Zuckerberg pumps more cash into the metaverse. You think he's walking around to everybody's desk in the Reality Lab and it's like, no, I can't this is my team. This is my core team of 2,000 people. We're gonna do this.
Does his legless avatar allow him to walk around the metaverse?
He's hovering
near his employees. Yeah.
Is that the first time that hovering menacingly has been uttered in?
Just over their shoulder.
They are doing some AI stuff. They haven't really announced a lot of details about it, but how are you not taking that whole division and pivoting them into AI at this point?
Well, I guess we have a story later on. He is kind of doing that.
No, but he will not give up on the Reality Labs. And they're the loss leader. If you're a shareholder, it's got to be infuriating. Right?
Yeah.
One of the pivots into AI did not go very well for them. They did like AI chatbots and people were like...
Nobody likes that.
We have a story about that too.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things that happens when you're this giant tech company is you have to buy up a whole big plot of land and make it your own city, right? But that gets more difficult to do when nobody's buying your crap.
Google's 80-acre San Jose mega campus is on hold as the company reckons with economic slowdown. Hey, can I borrow this until the economy picks back up? This would make a really awesome YouTube lab.
Yeah,
we have to fly to California, but
they give it to you for like what, $1 million a month. Plus, you have to do the upkeep. You got to cut the grass.
yeah.
No, I figure if we turn it into, maybe we can do it as like a non-profit or something.
Yeah, they're not into that. They like their profits. And it's Ontario, right? Is it Ontario or Ontario?
Ontario.
Ontario.
I'm 90% sure, but I'm sure someone will tell me.
There's rules in this country about what you can do with public pensions and retirement funds and stuff like that. I guess they don't have that in Canada because who thought this was a good idea?
Ontario Teachers Fund steers clear of crypto after a $95 million FTX loss. Now, this is a retirement fund in the billions and billions of dollars, but they did lose 95. There's two questions I have after this. One, they lost $95 million. Okay, whatever. They lost $95 million investing in crypto. Like, as Ryan alluded to, there's a lot of questions there. But also, the lawyers for FTX and the current CEO, they got $7 billion back. So it's not a total write-off. This article says they're treating it like it's a total write-off. They might be able to get 10 or 15 million back of that 90 million, maybe.
You know what's crazy though is like our rules are that you have to invest in something that's safe. So almost all of our pensions funds invest in bonds, government bonds, and they got crucified with those rates.
It's funny that you say that because Kentucky Teacher Retirement invested in a bunch of stuff that went to zero as soon as the Russia-Ukraine thing happened.
Oh, I remember
they
that.
lost a lot of money.
And everyone was like, oh, great.
Well, the Terra Luna whole thing still continues to play out, and the powers that be they're finding more and more people that they want to talk to about that whole situation.
Terra co-founder Daniel Shin charged with fraud in South Korea. Aww. This is evidence that they uncovered. South Koreans have done a really interesting bit of detective work here. There's a lot of incriminating emails, messages.
Interestingly enough, rather than run from them like Do Kwon did, he actually returned to Korea and was like, yeah, I'm here to do whatever you need. And they're like, yeah, we need you to be arrested.
We've got these emails. And he's like, oh, if I'd known you had those.
I might not have come back and turned myself in.
Oops. It's like, no, this is a big misunderstanding. That wasn't me. I didn't say that. That's crazy.
Was it Marie Antoinette that said, let them eat cake?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is definitely the...
Some people say that she hasn't, but yes,
Oh,
that is, it's attributed to her.
I'm sorry, historians. We're not here to debate that. Let's just say that this is the Marie Antoinette moment for the Bank of England.
Britons, quote unquote, need to accept their poor, says Bank of England economist. I think this was something that happened last week. And it happened on, was this on like last Friday? Because people were angrily chatting about this. I remember earlier this week.
The story was from Tuesday the 25th. I don't know when he said it. I think it was on like a podcast or something. So it took some time to
circulate.
Filter out.
Yeah.
I read one green text rant about this that started with the whole Brexit thing. And it was like, well, I can't even, it's surprisingly coherent for a green text.
Do you think he's taking a pay cut?
No.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does he accept that he's poorer, or is he just getting richer?
He was not personally affected. Not really.
They just need to have more money, you know?
I think he said
Stop
something
getting Starbucks.
like some business venture of his was affected, but it's like, well, not really.
Yeah. Are you having to not buy produce at the grocery store? Because until then.
Yeah.
Now, last week we talked about, Krista, are you an REI supporter?
I've been in one, but I don't have a membership.
You don't have you have to have a membership?
Well, you don't have to, but like you get discounts if you're a member on gear.
You got any of their gear?
No.
Well, the one
Cottage vendors, baby.
The one in Portland shut down because rampant crime.
Really?
That's interesting. When we talk about that, we get comments, and we get two distinct kind of comments. One of them is, I live in Portland, and you have no idea how bad it is. And then the other kind is, I live in Portland, and you're lying. It's not bad.
Maybe it depends on what part of Portland you're in. It's a big city.
No, well, so the breakdown is, I'm not from Portland. It is as bad as they say. And I grew up in Portland. It's fine. And it's like, it's always been like that, huh?
I don't think so. But one of the problems is when the rule of law breaks down like that, and we've seen this in America's past, or, it was like before we had, the West, and we didn't have anything. We didn't have any law. So the people with money took it into their own hands to create their own laws and enforce them. We do not want to go back to that.
No.
Magic the Gathering publisher Wizards of the Coast sent the Pinkertons after a leaker. The Pinkertons, you may remember from the railroad unionization days.
What year is it? Am I in a history book?
They never stopped existing. They do like private security and stuff. So this guy bought, I think they got a picture over here. Oh yeah, the March of the Machine. So this was a new expansion for Magic the Gathering. The problem is, it wasn't for sale yet.
They shipped it early.
Oh.
But the guy he bought it from, like he didn't know that he was buying something that's not allowed yet. So he buys it, he's excited, he does a YouTube video about it, and then the Pinkertons show up. I don't understand why he gave it to them. Do you?
Because they forced their way into his house and they were like, we're taking this.
Probably a gun was involved there. I mean, if you could video record that, in theory, you could have something done about it. I don't know if you actually could.
Yeah, well, and the Pinkertons allege that this was stolen. And it's like, was it stolen or was it mistakenly shipped?
Where was this?
Here's the
was
thing.
This in Portland? Well, I don't know why you mentioned that, but
because we're talking about REI. I don't know where it was, but the thing about it is, even if it was stolen, let's say that he went to a store, smashed a window, grabbed it, and took it home. The Pinkertons do not have power.
Yeah, right. They're not actual cops.
They don't have authority.
And yet,
I was wondering where it was because I was like, man, imagine if that was like somewhere in Eastern Kentucky and someone tried to force their way into the house. That's a bad time.
They would be dead, but then I'm sure the Pinkertons would escalate that, right?
Right.
I could never picture the company that did what they did to the Dungeons and Dragons intellectual property doing such a thing. Oh no.
Yeah. Who could have expected? They have such bad PR right now. And somebody was like, go get it. Don't come back without those cards.
This is what really strong copyright laws do.
It's okay for you to terrorize our customers and possibly attack someone over $2 worth of cardboard.
Do you think that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington is like, do what now? The kid had stolen playing cards?
What if he studied the blade?
Imagine trying to explain the idea of a playing card to Thomas Jefferson.
Well, they probably played cards, just not that kind.
Well, collectible cards.
Yeah.
It's like but they sent the Pinkertons after somebody with a set of... Were the girls on the cards really pretty? I don't understand.
Well, yes, but that's not the point.
They probably would be blown away by pornography, wouldn't they? They're like, let's talk more about this. And another bit of good news. We already knew this was coming, but we weren't sure if the governor was going to sign it. He signed it.
Colorado governor signs tractor right to repair law opposed by John Deere. Manufacturers must provide parts and embedded software and documentation. And this mostly just applies to farm equipment. Doesn't apply to phones yet, but they're working on it.
They give a list of things. There was one line that was like, and other equipment related to farming. So hopefully it won't just be those things, but tractors are the big one, obviously. Some of the language is a little bit weird, like, a reasonable cost. How do you determine a reasonable cost? What's a reasonable cost for your DRM software toolkit for climate change? They could say that's any number, but they have to give it to the farmer or a repair center, and the repair center cannot be forced to join their repair network like Apple.
Good news.
And moving on to hardware, we have a bit of a misstep from AMD, but it looks like they've gotten on top of it.
New BIOS updates keep Ryzen 7000X 3D processors from frying motherboards. Or whatever. We don't know. Gamers Nexus is doing a deep dive on this. They'll probably have that out by the time you're watching this. But yeah, so there was a lot of posts of people posting CPUs. CPUs don't normally fail like this. It's like, oh, it got hot and died. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But look at the CPU. It physically, catastrophically deformed. That's weird. That shouldn't happen.
They're saying there was some issue with the power rails and that BIOS. They found it and they fixed it.
And may or may not be related to the CPU. DeBauer posted a picture of a non-X3D CPU that had similar discoloration but had not failed.
They were very careful to say, don't stop overclocking. You can still overclock. Go ahead. I don't know if maybe wait a little bit.
Well, that was because ASUS initially said, you voided your warranty. Sorry, you're on your own. And then AMD was like, don't be like that. So that was sort of, if you experience that, AMD will replace your stuff, which is a good move.
And we all know that the new hotness is chip fab. If you can be part of the chip fab world, people are just going to throw money at you. And ARM is saying, well, we don't traditionally do this. We just license our work so you can do it. But you know what? It's so popular.
ARM is developing reference chips to attract new customers, according to this report.
The picture makes me want to eat it.
This might have been what PO'd Apple. You remember the whole Apple thing? It's like, why is Apple?
What do you think it would taste like?
Oh, nothing, but I'm just like, man, that's just like it'd be a nice crunch. It's very small.
Probably have a bitter taste.
Burnt Oreo.
You've been eating the Dragon Hearts?
We'll see. We'll see if that takes off. But ARM is certainly in a strong position right now. Will they capitalize? Also, you know who else is in a strong position? Probably having a little cake in the conference room this week, right? Is TSI Semiconductors.
Bosch to buy California microchip maker TSI Semiconductor and invest $1.5 billion. This is a good move. This is something that would be good to come out of the CHIPS Act because, remember, Global Foundries was kind of open. They're like, we don't want to chase the 7 nanometer unicorn. It's just too expensive. But the world that we're in economically now is way different than when they were making those comments. And so Bosch is saying, listen, we can make money hand over fist. Let's do this.
Also, these are some of the more utilitarian chips that we need for manufacturing other things. So I bet they're going to get some CHIPS Act money.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. The world could use more competition among the voltage regulators and USB controllers. My God, why is the USB controller market such a dumpster? Anyway.
The world also could use better Linux drivers. And there's no better indication than this.
The Intel i219LM had only been running at 60% of maximum speed due to a Linux driver bug. Yeah, your gigabit Ethernet adapters just got a whole lot faster. Oops.
Just got a brand new Linux kernel. When you upgrade, you will get full potential from your Intel.
It's funny because a lot of distros still use kind of old kernels, and this came to light when modern distros are using more recent kernels, and it's like, wait a minute, why does this kernel have such a much slower network driver? It's like, oh, so we made an oops.
I comboed two stories in here: the ASUS item and this new Ayaneo.
I think it's
Ayaneo. They're basically the same product, but it's obvious. Gaben has taught us there is a deep thirst for this kind of form factor.
The Ayaneo 2S will give the Steam Deck and the Asus ROG Ally some serious competition. Ryzen 7000, the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme. It's the Steam Deck form factor, kind of. There's some knocking on it because it doesn't have this fancy Steam Deck touchpads.
That Nintendo color scheme.
I worry about the fragmentation of controls because the Steam Deck really, I wasn't expecting the Steam Deck controls to be nice because I don't like controller play in general. But the touchpads for the games where I get really frustrated and it's like, but then I get the thumb touchpads, they actually work really well. And the thumb touchpads, they have inertia, which is like, it's hard to describe, but like when you use a touchpad on a laptop and you lift your finger and you go to the other side, it's fine. But if you throw your finger to one side, it's like your cursor has a little bit of mass and it keeps going. And you can get really good at throwing the cursor around on that tiny little touchpad.
Well, one kind of touchpad that you won't be throwing anything around on anymore is the budget basement Microsoft brand.
Microsoft's mice, keyboards, and webcams are being discontinued in favor of Surface accessories. I could go for an Alcantara Bluetooth keyboard. That'd be fine.
In almost every instance, the Surface branded version is twice the cost of the Microsoft branded version.
It feels premium, but it's actually not really.
Guarantee it's the same hardware.
I was about to say, but it's exactly the same, just a different logo on it.
Microsoft did get one thing right. They had this old Bluetooth mouse that was like the size of a billiard ball, and you would kind of hold it sideways, and it was really good.
Better stockpile them because they're done. No more of those.
Also, the Microsoft Natural keyboards, like the USB ones, they are so poorly quality controlled. About 8% of them only operate at above spec USB voltages, which is a problem for the KVMs.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
And we have satellites in the sky monitoring everything that we do, but now perhaps we can use them for more communication, and it seems like the wireless companies are ready to jump in.
AT&T helps complete a first space-based voice calling using standard smartphone. That was supposed to be the pigs in space voice, but I didn't quite nail it.
Meanwhile, AT&T continues to drop out calls on my road in eastern Kentucky.
Well, maybe, Krista, you need to move into the remote Canadian wilderness because they will be the first to enjoy this bounty.
SpaceX Rogers to connect mobile's phones to satellites to remote Canadian areas.
Mobile's phones?
Mobile's phones. It is mobile's phones. I didn't misread that.
That sounds Canadian.
To connect mobile's phones.
I don't think that's
a Canadian headline.
I don't think Canadians have different grammar.
You will read anything on the teleprompter.
I thought this was going to be like direct phone connection, and it kind of reads like that in one spot, but in another spot, it sounds like they're using the tower. Like the tower connects to the satellite, and the phone's still connected to the tower.
I think the AT&T one was direct, though, wasn't
it?
It was they did a call from the U.S. to Japan, and it was purely through the satellite.
This one's ambiguous. It doesn't really exactly say.
But if you're freezing to death somewhere in the Yukon, I imagine that you're going to enjoy
or
having
if you're
this
off
either
grid
way.
or something, or not even off grid, but maybe just in a remote cabin.
If you're trying to escape the misery of technology.
I mean, a low Earth satellite is closer than you think, or low Earth orbit satellite. So if you have enough of them, then your phone can maintain connection, and that's pretty good.
And you alluded in the last episode to the phone companies calling their service something that it is not.
Often.
And just tricking the consumer into thinking they're getting one thing, when in fact they're getting the same exact thing that they already had. It seems that Huawei wants to play that game a little bit.
5.5G park opens, bringing 5.5G to life. Come to the park where we have 5.5G. And it's like, I'm not sure that's why people want to come to the park.
So 5.5G, according to Huawei, is going to be 10 gigabit down and 1 gigabyte up.
Gigabit.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, gigabit. So, I mean, I guess that's good.
You can only get that when you're huddled around the tower in the middle of the park.
Yeah, literally in the confine. You walk outside the park, it's gone.
By the way, the candy bar melting in your pocket, that's normal.
The growth on your neck.
Don't think about that.
It's non-ionizing radiation, and you know it. It's almost entirely non-ionizing.
The good news is when you do your telehealth appointment, you need to upload pictures of the growth on your neck. It's going to be so lightning fast.
But it makes it grow like 10% larger as you send the
That's the
photos.
price you got to pay. And Motorola, they joined up with Lenovo, and they said, we're going to use our powers, combine our powers, and make the ultimate phone, and it's here.
Motorola's first co-branded Lenovo phone is here, and it's nice as heck. Despite the headline, I was reading this thinking it was a budget phone, but maybe not. We'll see.
I noticed with all the phones we were looking at, all the Motorola ones were sold out, I think.
You can't actually buy this one yet. This is only for businesses to buy at this point. It will unlock on April 28th. Oh, you can buy this now.
Hey, because it's May now.
Congratulations.
This reads like AstroTurf.
They might just be.
That's a press release.
Yeah.
We've also got the AstroTurf. I think, is it in nonsense when we talk about Notion, the Notion one? Because that was just AstroTurf.
No, I think that was just an AI story. But yeah, I also thought, I was like, this is PR.
Yeah, no one wrote this.
That's such a bad idea, yeah. Well, Microsoft, they really, really, really want you to go to a subscription model. But those pesky Windows users, they like just getting Windows as a license and not paying monthly. You know, like we've always done. And Microsoft says, how are we going to push people toward that? How about we guilt them about the climate?
Microsoft suggests businesses buy fewer PCs. No, really, that's the register. So this is part of an ad campaign that Microsoft is running saying you can just have a PC in the cloud. You log in when you need it, all your data is there, and it'll run on a potato class thin client. It doesn't matter if you're rocking a machine from 20 years ago. You're just in the cloud. It's fine. It's not fine because the wireless card in that thing is garbage.
It's also a monthly fee.
Oh, I forgot to mention that. That's not part of the ad campaign.
There's an asterisk at the bottom, and there's a little tiny bit of fun. By the way, you got to pay us forever.
I think Microsoft is going to do this like they do Xbox Live eventually, where you get the first year for free, and then after that, they're like, nah, you need to pay. All your stuff's going away.
So
or you've used 500 gigabytes. You're already 500 gigabytes in the red. You need to pay for more storage, or we're just going to start deleting. It's like, you're holding me ransom.
So you run out, buy another budget laptop at Best Buy, use a new identity, get another free year.
I literally know somebody that there was a deal where it was like you could get the crappiest Windows thing with it was 3 years free of home and student Microsoft Office. But the laptop was like one of those 150 garbage laptops. They never even took it out of the box. They just wanted the 3 years of Office for free because it was only $150 or something like that.
What a world. Disposable laptops to get licenses.
Yeah, that sounds environmentally friendly, doesn't it? That's why I mentioned it.
Well, you know what might have been environmentally friendly? I don't actually believe that, but they claimed it was, and maybe it was too environmentally friendly, or maybe it was too cheap.
GM is killing off the Chevy Bolt and the Bolt EUV. Has nothing to do with the constant recalls.
They have replacements coming from several of the GMC brands, the Cadillac Lyric and the Ultimum, new kinds of batteries, and the Hummer. All those way more expensive.
Yeah. There's a guy I follow on YouTube who I think he has the Chevy Bolt, and he loves it. But it was also like way cheaper than any of those other offerings.
Good luck getting parts for it in 5 years.
I don't remember if it was this. No, it wasn't this story. There was a story like that showed up earlier last week or the week before. And I was trying to do a deep dive on lithium. So engagement challenge audience. Lithium prices haven't really changed, but it hasn't gotten insanely way more expensive when you take into account inflation. And if you look at battery technology, we're able to make better batteries with less lithium, but it's still not a breakthrough. Not, to your point, it's like, we're going to be able to run this on, we've got a water battery now. Nothing like that has happened. But I honestly can't tell if lithium batteries are getting dramatically worse, about the same, or better per unit dollar. Because there's a lot of conflicting data each different way. It's like lithium, I would expect lithium to be getting more scarce and the price to be going up, and the cost of lithium batteries to be increasing faster than it is. But we've learned how to make lithium batteries from lower quality lithium that are almost as good, so maybe it's okay. And some of that is maybe driving the cost in some of the other parts of this here, but maybe it's okay.
I saw that, I think Chile nationalized all the lithium overnight.
Yeah.
That's got to have an impact, right?
Well, it's because it's worth a lot. And the deal that they made, like the 10-year deal that they made, like 6 years ago was, pennies on the dollar for the lithium. So it's like, yeah, let's nationalize that, which is probably smart.
Now, it doesn't seem like smart glasses have caught on. AR, VR, certainly nobody's running around wearing one of those, but maybe this is a solution that will let you have some similar functionality without looking like an idiot.
Humane previews AI-powered wearable.
So it's all based on a projector. Look at that.
Okay.
You interact with it with a series of like gestures and voice. So you're definitely going to look like an idiot when you're in the grocery store, gyrating and trying to communicate with your people.
You're trying to get through your grocery list, but you're just looking through your meme folder.
You're not going to look any worse than somebody with ear pods that's having a conversation.
You're standing in the mirror of the bathroom, screaming and waving your hands.
Please, I just did my grocery list.
And here's a product that is a terrible idea for just so many reasons. But here is, if you're thinking, hey, maybe this is good, maybe I should get this, here's what I encourage you to do. Inevitably, someone will say, police should use these. Listen to what the police unions say about that, because they're going to tell you the reasons, the real reasons this is dumb.
The Reuters headline is Smart Gun Operating on Facial Recognition Goes on Sale in the U.S. And there's a video and there's an article about that. You should go watch that. But you should also go watch the other stuff.
So it's got a fingerprint sensor, and that fingerprint sensor works in concert with a face scanning sensor. So there's a camera in this gun. There's a battery in this gun. Every time you let go of it, you have to unlock it again. So let's say that maybe someone knocks you down and your gun falls in the mud and the sensor gets covered up or the camera gets covered up. You're going to die.
I'm just thinking, how many problems have we had with phone facial recognition where like a kid gets hold of it and they use some sort of filter or find some way around it? Like,
I have a flagship phone and the fingerprint sensor is garbage.
I have a 5-year-old phone. Now, maybe they've made some advancements, but if my finger is slightly wet, it's like I have no idea who you are.
yeah.
Go away.
And here's an interesting one. We've had some real, just overwhelming changes in our incarceration system lately. They talk about, in this case, they made a rule that was like, oh, if you murdered a family, but you were a juvenile when that happened, you were sentenced to life, then doesn't count anymore. We're letting all those people go. But some of them have been in jail or prison for, decades and decades. They don't know anything about the current world. How do we acclimate them to that?
Inmates are using VR to learn real world skills.
This just reminds me of the story of like was it a Russian cow farm where they had the VR headsets on the cows?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's dark.
So the person that they were showcasing here, he was learning to do a self-checkout in VR because he's never known a world where self-checkout was a thing. And he was like, I don't like computers. I don't want to use computers, but they tell me I have to.
Yeah.
What a culture shock, right? So not only that, but they're also teaching them like meditation and mindfulness, I guess, so they can be less miserable.
Can you do that in person and not in VR?
That takes too much effort.
Yes, we don't have the budget for that. Also, somebody might get stabbed.
Yes.
I mean, these are killers. And, Amazon, they had a little bit of bad news about their cloud storage. But Google, on the other hand,
Google's cloud business turns profitable for the first time on record. Well, everybody else had a whole bunch of hardware and it was hard to get. But Google's got their hardware and it was pretty fast. So, of course.
It's not super profitable. But up until now, it had been zero and negative profitable.
I like the picture they picked for this article.
so happy.
Look at, he looks thrilled. He's surprised.
Guys, can you believe it?
I certainly can't.
It definitely has nothing to do with macroeconomic conditions and the general unavailability of cloud compute. Definitely not.
Now, this story came out on April 24th, so this was prior to the bombshell from the UK. I wonder if they'll stick with this now. Because, the threat was, hey, stop being anti-competitive or we're not going to give you Activision. Now they're not getting Activision.
Microsoft will reportedly unbundle Teams from Office to avoid antitrust concerns.
Can we just unbundle Teams?
I mean, it's kind of already unbundled because there's a Teams and then there's a business Teams, and it's just a nightmare if you have to use both.
Yeah, well, maybe they just cancel this altogether. And This is great news. I love this because like, oh, you're not going to update with a bunch of trash. Now you're just going to give me security updates. Can we just have that forever, please?
Microsoft is done with major Windows 10 updates, and they're going to end support altogether in 2025.
One of the top comments on this article was 2025 year of the Linux desktop.
That also means that they're not going to really test things. So when an update comes, it's probably got like a 10% chance of breaking something.
We've been talking, obviously, about the never-ending court battles. They just keep coming. I remember when we got the big headline, it was like, oh, it's finally over.
It's never over.
The winner has been chosen. No, it's never over.
Apple wins its appeals court ruling against Epic Games. A panel upheld a ruling that Apple wasn't violating antitrust laws with its App Store policies. This is Fortnite, Tim Sweeney. This is that thing. But this is incredible. This ruling is incredible. It says that, yeah, Apple behaves anti-competitively, but they're probably not violating antitrust laws.
And the App Store in particular.
Yeah, I found that odd.
The one thing that they did have in the ruling, or they did say in the ruling, was that Apple is prohibited from restricting app developers telling their users they can go pay somewhere else. So Fortnite in the App Store for free could be a thing that says, hey, don't pay on Apple. Click here to pay on the website. Apple cannot interfere with that.
But we also got the EU rulings, which means we're probably going to get sideloading.
Yeah.
So does this even matter at this point?
It is a very, very weak victory for Apple, but it is a victory for Apple. And it's a very disappointing victory for Apple because it's so stupid.
And you know what else is stupid? Alienating your user base. But they are going to keep doing it over at Netflix.
Netflix reportedly lost 1 million users in Spain over password crackdown. But did they gain any new subscribers?
Sadly, after the fact, the numbers actually went up. Everyone came crawling back. Yeah.
That's amazing to me. Do we just have a whole generation who don't know how to do the P word?
Way to go, Spain. You had the opportunity to put a stop to that, and you failed. I hope you enjoy your streaming.
Build your own Netflix before they make that a capital offense.
Just start collecting physical media again, because that's the way we're going.
I mean, the guy in Bulgaria literally was saying that people should be executed if they are violating copyright on a large scale. What?
That's a bit of an escalation.
Yeah.
What are you in for?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I stole episodes of Star Trek.
He was making it equivalent to those kinds of things. It's just like, I don't think it's that, but okay.
You know, speaking of Star Trek, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll play some Next Generation in the background, see what Wendell's talking about. I mean, I watched them as a kid, but they've gone crazy with DMCA on those. I guess it's because of those new collections coming out.
Yeah.
I found them. And Amazon has a bit of a history of messing with their third-party sellers. And in particular, they don't like it if you're selling your product anywhere else in the world cheaper than Amazon. And they might have strong-armed some people.
Amazon's vow to stop squeezing sellers was fake, California says. So when it was pointed out that that was anti-competitive and a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act and a whole bunch of other things, Amazon said, oh, whoops, we didn't realize. Our bad. But they're still doing it.
They really didn't even do much to paper over it.
Yeah.
They just kind of kept doing it. And they've got several sellers who have pointed out, and you know, they actually got some internal emails. And my favorite one was like, hey, send them this and explain this to them. Maybe they'll get the hint. Smiley emote.
That's not very professional and professional correspondence.
When you give a smiley emote as you're destroying a small business, that's a special kind of evil.
Is that business going to be able to sue Amazon for millions upon millions of dollars for interfering in their business? Because they should.
If they have millions and millions of dollars to pay into it and 30 years to wait, I mean, we see how that goes, right? And we have talked about this in the past, but the whispering in modern television shows. Modern actors seem to think that whispering is a replacement for acting. Just like get really quiet when you're going to get dramatic.
We should do that when we do skits. We should start talking really
People
quiet.
already complain about the audio so much. And it's such a problem that Amazon has figured out a way to deal with it.
Amazon introduces a new feature to make dialogue in its TV shows intelligible. It's AI. That's all. It's just going to boost the audio for vocal tones.
Also, we talked about this before we started recording. Some of you are only getting the center channel.
Yeah, you don't want that.
It's your setup. You need better setup. Look into that.
Well, we're talking about too, there should be more of a standard, like how there's web standards and how that really improved the web over time. But
Instead, we have the same patent battlefield that we have everywhere else.
yeah, you can't win after a while. But
And so Amazon had their it's earnings season, tech earnings season. So we have big announcements from all the companies. We heard from Intel and everybody. Amazon announced, and they crushed it, and everybody was like, "Oh my God!" Their stock went up 10%, and then trading closed. And then Amazon was like, "Oh wait, we forgot to tell you about this other thing."
Amazon stock forfeits its gains after company warns of optimizations, quote unquote, from AWS customers. Yeah, AWS customers are starting to notice, wait a minute, the compute isn't really getting any cheaper as time goes on. That's weird, because doesn't the cost of compute go down over time? And it's like, well, a few things have gotten maybe a little cheaper, but mostly no. And so customers are saying, well, if we just do this, then we need way less infrastructure. Or if we use Cloudflare's R3, then suddenly we don't have to pay CloudFront's egress fees. What?
isn't AWS like one of the biggest things that they make profits off of at
Yeah,
this point too?
it has been.
Yeah,
Literally, they're a $1 trillion company
because of
that.
AWS.
Yeah. So,
And it's becoming a commodity.
and it was that's such a big deal. Investors know. They're like, "Hey, everything is great except AWS." And when they heard that,
It's like,
they're like,
"Oh."
"Oh, okay, we're done. We're done." Now here, I've not had you previously heard of Notion.
Yeah, yeah, I'd heard of it.
I've
This
not
has
looked
got to
at
be
it.
a paid article. It's
Oh,
gotta be.
absolutely.
It definitely
Yeah.
seems like MIT Technology Review might have taken some money here. But the idea of putting your whole world out there and planning it like this is like, what kind of human being are you? You need to not do this.
MIT Technology Review's headline is "Meet the people who use Notion to plan their whole lives." This is just an advertorial for Notion, but it talks about how you need to plan your downtime to get maximum enjoyment out of your downtime.
One of the craziest like little snippets in this article to me was someone talking about how like they would catalog television shows they watched and then write their thoughts down about each one and give it a rating. And I was like,
Who's the audience for that?
yeah, who?
Me
I'm
in
someone
10
who
years?
wrote.
God, I was an idiot.
I did a 45-minute video about the advertising for Rings of Power, and even I am not that crazy.
Yeah, but you have an audience for that. They don't.
Yeah, like I never watch a piece of media and then I'm like, I really need to like sit and categorize this just for myself.
Now, sometimes I will, if I watch a really impressive interrogation video and I'm like, I got to talk about this, I'll make a note in a Google Doc to talk about it on the Twitch chat.
But well, again, there's someone
an
to
audience,
talk to
yeah.
about. Like, why would you just keep that note for yourself? That's so weird.
Well, I keep notes and things like that for stuff that I'll need later, because it's like, this is the warranty for this, or this is where I bought that, or this is whatever. And so like I'll organize bills and things into, a document management system, but that's just a chore. And I don't write prose. I put keywords in so that it'll come up in a search later.
But one thing that I am absolutely positive that you do not do is schedule your time like that.
No.
No, yeah. Well, yeah, that's like leisure time, downtime. Scheduling your downtime like that is strange to me. It's okay to have unstructured play.
If I could schedule downtime and have it actually stick, that would be amazing. But there's a litter box that needs to be changed, or there's something that's on fire, or a toilet that's overflowing, something I got to go deal with.
Or, it's like I took a nap and just time traveled for 10 hours. I fast traveled.
That's been a real
hours.
problem the last little bit.
It's spring napping season.
Maybe what if
Let it be. It's good.
Here's what you do: get Notion and then just put all the time in nap time.
That's gonna
around the
lead me
clock.
straight into heart attack territory, because it's like, I missed my nap time again.
Notion's constantly buzzing you. Hey, you need to schedule this.
Well, the EU has created some rules about online services, and one of those rules is that you have to tell them how many people are using your online services. The big tech companies did not like this. They fought against it, but it happened, and now Apple has to do it.
European DSA recipients of services report. Here's the disclosure:
101 million on iOS.
23 million on the iPad OS, 6 million on Mac OS. Wow, Mac's dying.
Oh, the Apple TV is not popular over there.
Mm-hmm. Watch OS, Apple Books, 1 million. Podcasts and paid subscriptions under 1 million. That's pretty, 23 million in the App Store, 1 million in podcasts. Not going to get rich on doing a podcast.
Unless you're us. float plane and Patreon.
That's definitely why all those people give us money on it. And Mark Zuckerberg, he's doubling down on the metaverse, but he is pivoting somewhat to AI.
Mark Zuckerberg says Meta wants to introduce AI agents to billions of people. And they did just that in Snapchat.
I hope that's next. It's probably not.
Oh, no, I think
No.
that's in the AI section. I don't think it's in social.
Well,
Yeah, this is
we
the
might have
social
talked about that in nonsense.
Or
The
maybe
people,
it wasn't social. I don't
people
remember.
in Snapchat, they wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
But Meta does recognize their greatest competitor, right? Which is TikTok, because TikTok is just destroying them in the user count. But everybody hates TikTok at this point, so they're definitely getting on that bandwagon.
Meta's Clegg invokes the anti-China rhetoric against TikTok. True patriots use Facebook.
The spy you know and trust.
Now, he does bring up an interesting argument that you can't really debate here, is that China does not allow Facebook, whereas the U.S. allows TikTok. So it's a little bit unfair there. Although you could
Land of the
argue,
free.
yeah, like freedom requires us to allow our people to make that mistake if they want to.
I don't know.
And we have seen so many attacks against encrypted communication and all kinds of online communication because they will not give up information.
Brazil judge orders temporary suspension of Telegram. Nah, Telegram is really not all that good. It's just Telegram won't play ball with Brazil. So they're like, okay, out.
Brazil is having some issues with crime. They want Telegram to unearth some things. Telegram says, we're not interested in doing that. So now they're going to get a daily fine. I don't remember how much it was, but it's a lot.
And to be sure, Telegram could do this. It's not like Signal. Signal is far superior to Telegram.
I can't remember how much it was. It's hundreds of thousands of whatever their local currency is today. I don't know what that translates into. This has to do with school shootings, and they apparently have youth gangs that are a bit of a problem, and they communicate primarily through Telegram. The government would like to see all of those communications. Telegram says no.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, here it is. And the AI. Everybody has to have an AI, right? But some of them are less welcome than others.
Snapchat sees a spike in one-star reviews as users pan the My AI feature, calling for its removal.
Nobody wants this.
Here's the proof that they know that this is trash. You can remove the AI thing. Like it's sticky at the top and it takes up a bunch of your screen. You can remove it with a paid subscription. Pay me to remove my software from your phone. What a business model.
You'll like the metaverse. If you try the metaverse, we can remove the AI assistant.
And this makes me feel good about people. I rarely feel that, but this it's heartening to know that some people are recognizing these horrible young people and their social media strategies. We must push back against it. We must alienate them, treat them as if they are not part of our culture, because they are not.
A TikToker was confused and ended up in tears when strangers refused her offer to pay for their groceries.
With a camera in their face.
When
to be
strangers
clear.
refuse to be part of her content creation.
Right.
That's the proper headline. They know what it is. It's not anything altruistic. It's just, I need clicks. I want to use you.
Look
for
how
that.
nice. Well, and some people in this article pointed out that she was doing this in a really wealthy neighborhood in London.
Yeah.
And they're like, I mean, who's going to want that if you're already wealthy?
Yeah, if this is somewhere that's upscale, like a Wegmans, no one is going to be on board. If she did this at like a Walmart, that would have been like, okay.
All right.
If she would do this in an Eastern Kentucky Walmart, not only would they take her money, but they'd follow her out to her car and stab her and take everything else that she's got.
They need that catalytic converter.
Yeah, exactly. And Twitter, we all know they're doing the blue tick thing, and a lot of celebrities are upset because their ticks went away. I think they eventually came back. But the ad campaign to get you to pay for your blue tick may have taken some shortcuts.
Twitter appears to have given blue tick verifications to dead users, including Kobe Bryant, Chadwick Boseman, and Chester Bennington. Oops.
People who definitely didn't pay for it.
Turns out there's a law against using dead people in an advertising campaign. So if someone can prove that this is an advertising campaign, it certainly feels like that, right?
It does, yeah.
They would definitely be in violation of advertising laws.
So there's the gold check mark, which I think is like this person's notable, maybe. Or no, that's enterprise.
Gold
And then-
check mark is $1,000 a month.
Yeah, and then the blue is just like this person paid.
Now, if you pay for the gold check mark, your whole corporation, like all of your different businesses, get it. And they're not very good at looking at the account details to confirm who's actually part of that network.
Twitter gives fake Disney account verified status.
Oops.
Oops.
Apparently, it was tweeting out some pretty vile things, from what I understand too. I didn't check the account, but
The quote was, "This isn't actually real, right? Someone pinch me or something."
that's from the creator of the account.
They knew what the content on their account was.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested they make it to where Musk would accept payment from other people for verified, because that would it would generate a lot of money, but a lot of chaos would also ensue.
That would be fun.
You know who was swept up in all this? That's very sad. There's a guy that runs a bunch of bots, including Riker Googling, and they've shut all that down.
I don't know that we need bots on Twitter.
The Riker Googling bot was really funny.
But what about liminal spaces bot?
There was a Riker Googling and Picard management tips and that kind of thing, and they didn't tweet out a lot, but it was pretty funny.
I guess I'm not a big Twitter user. All right, well,
Oh, that was it. Wow. I thought we had another story about the Snapchat thing. Maybe we didn't.
Maybe later.
what was it about?
It was so it was the same Snapchat AI. So I had a friend who actually tested this. You could ask it for your location. It's like, oh, I don't track that. I don't know what your location is. But then you ask, where's the nearest McDonald's? And it would spit out where it was.
That was in that story.
Was it in that story? Okay.
Yeah, and also the advertising part of it could use your location.
Yeah.
Yet another data point. Meta's lying to me.
Anyway, that's it. We'll see you guys Friday.